Welcome to the Whurthy Events Training video series. This is Module 7, Whurthy Marketing. In this third video, we're going to walk through Whurthy marketing features. We'll start by looking at the email campaign templates that are built in and how you can add your own email campaign templates. We'll then review audiences and how users can subscribe themselves to mailing lists. And then we will finish off by looking at mailing lists and how you can import any existing email marketing lists that you have through the bulk email import feature. So with that said, we're going to jump over to the staff experience. So as is always the case, when we want to find a feature inside Whurthy Events, we want to look over to the right-hand sidebar in the links section. And as was previously mentioned in the preceding videos, if you are following along and you can't see the marketing section in the sidebar, that means that the Whurthy marketing feature is not activated in your environment. But if it is, then you're going to see the event marketing section. Again, remembering that the label event may be different based on the label that you've chosen for your environment. So we can see here that we've got the headings of email campaigns, mailing lists, audiences, email campaign templates, and bulk email import. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to follow in the order of display. Whilst these sections are designed to be presented in the order where you're most likely to be active or the features that you're most likely to use, I'm going to work through these in an order that will help bring this all together. So I'm going to start by looking at the email campaign templates because we looked at this in the previous video. So when you click on the email campaign templates link, that takes you to the email campaign templates page. Now we've got here a button to add an email campaign template. So that's pretty straightforward. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the two that are built in here at this point. Again, as I mentioned in the previous video, we are planning on adding additional email campaign templates. But at this point, we've got two in. We've got the default template and we've got the plain template. So we can see here, first of all, that each template will have a pixel width. So this just speaks to the number of pixels wide that the email will display. By jumping over to the email client and showing that email campaign that was sent out, we can see that we've got these banner images here. And the width of this email is 600 pixels. Now, going back to the email campaign template page, this number of 600 pixels is chosen deliberately. It's our experience that 600 pixels width is ideal for both a desktop computer and for smaller form factor devices such as smartphones and tablets. However, you have the ability to make changes to this as you will. What we do recommend, though, is that if you do add your own email campaign template, that the width of the pixels for the email is the same width as any images that you use for the banner or the footer. Now, just a quick disclaimer, if you're following along and you're a little bit confused about what this is all about and email marketing and email campaigns and whatnot, we actually recommend that whilst the Whurthy marketing tool is designed to allow you to sort of get into this activity of sending out marketing email campaigns, if you really are sort of wondering what this is all about, we would advise that you get in contact with a marketing professional, with a marketing agency, with a team or a professional who has experience doing this sort of thing. What we've provided are some potent, powerful tools that would allow such a professional or yourself to be able to really make the most of these email marketing campaigns. So that being said, just to sort of dive in, I can click on this link here for default. That will now show me the header banner. I've got the width at the top. I've got the header banner here, and then I've got the HTML template. So this here is what the Whurthy event system uses. So when in the previous video, we looked at that text that was built automatically behind the scenes, Whurthy is looking for this particular text and it's inserting that information. So if you make edits, you can go ahead. We have allowed you to edit a template. We would encourage you to do so with caution. This can always be restored. It's not very complicated, but this would allow you, for example, as long as you don't change the word inside these squiggly curly brackets, you could change the initial greeting line. You could change the signature line. You could put in a different company name. You could remove the word team. What we also see in this particular case now, because this is the default template, this header banner, you can't actually edit this banner. That will be built in. But when it comes to other email campaign templates, the ones that are built in, you won't be able to edit the banner URLs, but you will be able to edit the message. If, however, you create your own email campaign template, then you'll have the freedom to do that. And just as a final sort of point on this, if I go and edit this again, you'll notice here that this is a URL. This is a web address, and you'll see these letters CDN. That stands for Content Delivery Network. Now, without explaining some of the more advanced aspects of the efficient way to embed an image into an email, this is really what this is this is the address of where the image is stored. And so if I go back to templates, the web browser knows to basically display this banner image. And this is going to work exactly the same when the emails that you send through marketing emails arrive in the email client of those that are subscribed to your mailing list. So you don't have to worry about attaching images. When the email lands, the email client will take care of grabbing that image from the address that sent it, and we'll put that in place. And so again, if you're not really clear how to do this, this is one of those things you can either reach out to the Whurthy team, or you can directly engage a marketing professional. Okay, so next, with the email campaign templates reviewed, I'm going to jump over to audiences. So I'm kind of working my way up the list here. So I'm going to click on the audiences link here in the event marketing section. And so this is taking me to the audiences that are used by Whurthy Marketing. Now, built in, we can see there's all accounts, members, and VIPs. So these audiences are built in. They are hard-coded, as it were, in. So you can't really edit them. You can view them. Now, you can add your own audience. And there's a few things that we just want to touch on. So these 3 built-in audiences, they are designed to align to the loyalty program tiers, which you may recall are, anyone can be a guest. Everyone who registers with your Whurthy events environment is going to be added to the all accounts audience. And one of the things that happens is, when you actually register for an account, there is a disclaimer that says that by registering, you're giving us permission to add your email address to our mailing list. And this is the mailing list that they get added to. Also, this next line here, this says scope external. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute, because that really relates to whether or not this audience is going to show up on the subscription page. So going to come back to that in a minute. I'm just going to read through the rest of these built-in audiences. The all accounts audience description and says this external audience can be directly described to through the subscribe link. You'll see it says /subscribe link, or updated by staff through the mailing list. So we're going to look at that in the next part of the video. And just a few notes here. Every account that is registered is automatically added to the mailing list for the audience. All accounts, regardless of their loyalty tier, will by default be adding to the mailing list for this audience. This particular audience is designed to be the primary mailing list for email campaigns, and then it cannot or should not be edited or deleted. Now, the members and VIP audiences. Now, these are marked as internal scope. What that means is they are not going to show on the subscription link. And again, I'm going to show you that in a moment, but they have a purpose, because these accounts, they can be added. You can add accounts to the the internal members mailing list or the VIP list, or manually. But if the automated loyalty program is set to yes, then Whurthy will automatically add accounts to this list when their loyalty counter meets that member tier. Now, there's going to be a link in the top right-hand corner of the page to that automated loyalty program video. So if you've forgotten how the automated loyalty program works, please feel free to watch that video at your own convenience. But really what I'm trying to say here is that these built-in mailing lists really are linked to the automated loyalty program tiers. So all of those customers, if you have the automated loyalty program set to yes, then when they've met that member threshold, then their account's going to be added to this member mailing list. And then when they've met that VIP threshold, they'll be added to that VIP threshold. And the idea of setting their scope to internal means that a stranger, anyone who's arriving and subscribing for themselves, they can't add themselves to this list. So what I'm going to do is, before I jump to the next section, I'm just going to finish off with taking a look quickly at how the subscription aspect or feature works in Whurthy Events. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a new browser tab, and I'm going to paste in the URL for this environment. It happens to be whurthyevents.com, and then it's got subscribe at the end of it. So I've just added the word subscribe. And I'm going to show you there are two ways that you can see the subscribe link. Now, bearing in mind, I'm already logged in. And so Whurthy Events actually knows that I'm logged in, and it knows that I'm logged in with the account with the first name as Kerwin, and it's letting me know that my account's already subscribed to the mailing list. So if someone's logged in and their account is already subscribed to that all accounts list, it's actually going to know. However, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to open up here a private browser session, and in here I've got the exact same URL, but having come here now, because this private browser session doesn't have me logged in, now it doesn't know who I am. And so now it lets me know you can subscribe to our mailing list below. By subscribing, you're giving us permission to add your email to our emailing list. And now what this does, this describes, this is really all about ensuring that we're meeting or we're compliant with the email marketing regulations, such as the GDPR regulations in Europe. So we use this double opt-in approach here. So step one, please enter your email in the field below and then click the subscribe button. Upon subscribing, you will be sent a confirmation opt-in email. Please check your inbox from notifications@whurthy.com. And then if this email does not appear within a couple of minutes, please check your spam folder. And then once they receive that email, they're going to click on the confirm subscription email to them, and clicking the link will take them to a page with a confirmation message, and that will complete their subscription. And so here we can see we've got the all accounts audience. If you had additional external scoped audiences, they'd show here, but all accounts is the default one, and then they can type in the email address here, and so I can go ahead and just subscribe. Okay, so I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to jump back now to the staff experience. And so now that we've looked at audiences and subscription, I'm now going to click on the event marketing section. I'm going to click on the mailing list link. So this now is going to show me all the mailing lists that I have. So there's a few things to note here. So I can add an email address explicitly or an existing registered user account. So I'm going to click on that in a minute. I can see here that it's telling me that there are 10 confirmed subscriptions across all audiences, and that my mailing list limit is 2,500. So if I hit that limit, I won't be able to add. I can also see here now that I can filter the mailing list by audience. So for example, I can click on all accounts, click on filter, and it's then going to show me the 5 email or accounts that are against this audience of all accounts. And I can click on VIPs, filter it, and now I've just got one user that's against their VIP mailing list at this point. So I can go ahead and clear the search. From the mailing list page, we can add directly to the mailing list by clicking on the Add to Mailing List button. And so this is where we get to select what audience we're going to add to the mailing list entry to. We then get the choice to either enter an email directly, or we can select a user. Now, typically, if you are adding to the all accounts mailing list, the recommendation would be to add an email, just because when user accounts are registered, they're added to the all accounts audience automatically. And Whurthy will let you know, but that would just save you some time. And adding to the members or VIP audience, it's probably advised to add users manually. And then you can mark if they're subscribed, unconfirmed or not. Now, the recommendation, though, is from a regulatory point of view that you avoid adding mailing list entries manually. And the reason for this is that Whurthy does actually track some things that happen. So if a user comes and adds themselves through the subscribe link, it will actually show this. So for example, if I've come to this subscribe page and I enter in test@emailaddress.com. Now, this email address isn't real. And in effect, the verification or the confirmed subscription email won't actually arrive. But what this will do is this will serve to actually show what happens on the back end, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click the subscribe button. And now it's going to tell me thank you for your intention to subscribe. And then one more step required is to complete your subscription. And it's letting them know that an email with a link to confirm has been sent to this address. Now, whilst I'm not going to follow through with that, if I go back into this all accounts mailing list and filter, we're now actually going to see that there are 6 emails. And I can come here and I can see now that this mailing list all accounts entry for the tester email address has been added. If I click on that, it will actually show me that the first opt-in subscription came from this IP address. So when you actually look, and if I go back to the mailing list now and look at some other entries, now I can go ahead and just click on this little X to just remove this entry because I know that's it's a garbage entry. But if I go ahead and say click on this email address here, we actually get to see that here, this email was added when we subscribed through bulk import, and it's actually noting the date that it was added on and who that added. So from a regulatory point of view, Whurthy Events is tracking if you added an email address through bulk import, that means you added them. And from a regulatory point of view, that isn't seen as preferred. What's seen as preferred is that someone subscribes their own email to your mailing list. So this does track and it isn't ideal. Now, if I go back, I can take a look at other accounts. So if I go ahead and click on this mailing list entry for VIPs, it's also noting that the user account was added automatically due to the VIP threshold limit of 50 being met. So it's actually noting that there was implied permission, because when the user originally registered, they actually gave us permission because they were registering to have an account with this service. And that's okay from a regulatory point of view. So this shows the trail of how this user came to be on this mailing list. If I click on another account here, for this account, we can note that they were subscribed through bulk import, but actually earlier on when I was recording another video, it recorded that they'd unsubscribed, and then it notes that they aren't subscribed. So what this highlights, and the intention of sharing this with you, is that Whurthy Marketing will store the different ways that mailing list entries are created. It will store if someone adds themselves to your mailing list through the subscription link, then it will require that confirmation. If they don't confirm, it will mark them as an unconfirmed until they subscribe. And it's only when a mailing list entry has that subscribe value as yes that they will actually then be able to receive emails. So that's one of the ways in which Whurthy Marketing makes sure that there is compliance. Just as if you add someone through bulk import, it will allow you to do that, but that will be recorded. And that's just something for you to be mindful of, particularly as you get mailing lists and you bring them in. The general recommendation is that it's preferred that you either have people subscribe through registration, because when they verify their email, that is the double opt-in, or they go to the subscribe link. And by doing that, you could have a subscribe to our mailing list button that takes them to that subscribe link, and then they would click that confirmation link, and then you would have complied with the regulations because you would have that double opt-in. Okay. And so finally, 2 more things to look at. So I'm going to take, so the penultimate feature to look at here is the email campaigns. Now, we'd already looked at this in the previous video where we got to see an email campaign automatically created. I can click on the prepare email campaign button here. We've got instructions that we can say, okay, what audience do we want it to go to? Is it ready to send? We can create the subject, the message, and we can add the email campaign. And just as per the automated approach, once you save a campaign with ready to send as yes, then a task will be created. And then once you approve that test email, then it will go ahead and send the email campaign out. And the final feature to show you is you got to see some mailing list entries where we saw the result of emails being added through the bulk email import feature. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that here. I'm going to click on the bulk email import link. And this takes us now to the final feature we're going to review for Whurthy marketing. And so we can see here that there's some instructions. So first of all, it's showing us that you are currently using 0.4% of your mailing list limit of 2,500. And it's saying there are 10 confirmed subscriptions across all audiences. There were 11, but I just removed one. Now we can see here, through bulk import, Whurthy will accept any number of emails up to the mailing list limit listed above. So obviously, if I was going to add, say, 500 emails, I've got, I'm only using 0.4%, plenty of room. Then notes, only emails currently unassociated with a user account or a subscribed email address will be added to the selected audience mailing list. So at the bottom here, we can see audience, and we can select any of the free audiences. So this might be a useful way, for example, to add a group of emails to a members or a VIP list or an audience that you've created. And then it says here, the bulk email import report will notify you of the number of emails already associated with an existing subscribed user account or email. So it will let you know if you added a bunch of emails or people subscribed and they were already on your marketing list and then you came and imported them, Whurthy will actually track and it won't create double entries. Now, the final note here, once the mailing list limit of 2,500 is reached, any additional emails in the import will not be added. So if you had 2,000 mailing list entries or 2,000 subscriptions already in, and you went to add 1,000 more, it would add the first 500 that were valid, but those last 500 it wouldn't add because it's hit your limit. The bulk email import report will notify you of the number of emails that were not added to the mailing list due to that mailing list limit. As Whurthy will not verify email addresses imported, please be sure to enter only correctly formatted email addresses, including an @ sign, a period, and a top-level domain, such as .com. So carewin@whurthy.com, for example. It is strongly recommended that you verify the import by checking the mailing list. So if you end up entering emails that are not in the correct format, it won't create a problem for Whurthy, just the email won't go out and you would affect the using up a mailing list entry out of your limit. So really it's in your best interest just to make sure this is going to basically save space. So in order to add it, there is a couple of ways that we can add email addresses. We can type them in manually. So I could type in carewin@whurthy.com, for example, and we want to separate them with commas. So you can see here, enter as many emails as you want, separating each address with a comma. And then I could type in jason@whurthy.com, and I could type in lyle@whurthy.com. So I'm going to go ahead and actually deliberately add 3 of these emails. So I can type them manually, or I could, if I've been using another email marketing system, I can export all my emails into a format known as comma separated values or as a CSV file. And all I need are email addresses. So this bulk email import feature is only used just to add emails. Now, again, when you go ahead and import the emails, it will check if you've already got users that have accounts with these emails, it won't go and add an additional mailing list entry for them. It will actually know, oh, you actually already had. So when we do this import, I know that we're going to have at least one of these email addresses is associated with an account. And then these 2, I believe, particularly if I add them to this VIP audience, in fact, all 3 of them should be added now that I think about it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the import emails button. And so now we can see the successful bulk email import report. So we got green background for this row here. If it was not successful, in other words, if all of the email addresses you tried to add were already in, it would be blue. We can see here we have 3 email addresses were processed for the all accounts mailing list. We can see the number of user accounts already on the mailing list is 0. The number of email addresses were already on the mailing list was 0, and we can see the number of email addresses added to this mailing list were 3. And whilst we had a 0.4% starting mailing list limit, it's now 0.5%. And then we can go ahead and just continue and rinse and repeat as often as we want. And so that concludes the review of the Whurthy marketing features. Whurthy, value made easy.